we see a girl named Evangelina K. McDowell who is a vampire and has lived for 700 years. Being immortal is not as great for her as the farewell always comes. A girl named Yukiime, who is a professor, is on her way. Suddenly, a young boy named Totkin, a student, attacks her with friends to defeat her, but Yukiime uses her fast reflexes and uses an invisible wall to defend them, bashing them away, and they fall into the pond. Yukiime explains that if they defeat her, they are permitted to leave the village and go to the capital city. Tota shows his anger at Yukiime for behaving like a boss and asks about the magic wall she used. Yukiime throws them out the window for being pathetic. Professor Takabuna is trying to convince her not to be hard on students. The Tota group is discussing the magic that Yukiime used, and it has been 10 years since the magic was introduced to everyone and is common in the capital city. There are physical apps through which ordinary people can use magic, but they cost more than 1 lakh yen. Tato came and suggested using traditional ways to defeat Yukiime and climb the tower orbital elevator in the capital city, and the 5 decided to climb the tower one day. Tato took his leaves and went to his parents' grave because today is the day when his parents died in an accident 2 years and 3 months ago. After Tato's parents' deaths, Yukiime takes care of Tota, and they live together. As Tota gets up from his parents' grave and turns around, he sees a person telling him that he is waiting for him at the top of the tower and has disappeared. Tota wants to learn magic, but Yukiime denies it. Tota and his friends again failed to defeat Yukiime, and she dismissed them. Professor Takabuna came to Tota's group and taught them magic by giving them magic apps and telling them to keep it secret from Yukiime. But Tota was unable to use magic, so Takabuna gave him a metal bangle to give Yukiime. Yukiime is on his way and smiling, seeing the bangle. Suddenly, Tota's group ambushes her using teleportity and magic and binds her with the magic. Takabuna came. He beat the students and showed his true colors. Takabuna had been pretending to be a teacher for the last 6 months while he was a bounty hunter. Takabuna attacks Yukiime, and when she tries to use magic, it is sealed because of the metal bangle, and she gets stabbed with the big needles. Meanwhile, Tota came and attacked Takabuna, but he defended himself. Tota stepped back, but Takabuna teleported close to him and cut his hand. Takabuna was about to kill Tota, but Yukiime came forward to save him. Takabuna forces her with his sword, but when he is unable to do so, he slashes his sword and cuts Yukiime into pieces. Tota is shocked, and Takabuna stabs him and goes to kill Tota's friends, but Yukiime tells him that she converted him into an immortal monster 2 years ago and gives him 2 choices. One is to die like a human being, and the second is to be born as a monster again by drinking her blood. Tato drinks the blood, gets up, and throws a hand at Takabuna, but he steps back. Tota attacks with his sword, but he defends it and uses the magic Incinerate. Tota slips back. Tota uses his power to regenerate his hand and attacks with a super punch that throws Takabuna back, and he hits the car, turns with it, and dies. Tato fell to the ground but woke up in Yukiime's lap. She explained to him that he has become immortal, and Yukiime told her original name, Evangelina K. McDowell, that she is a vampire and Tota's parents have not died in an accident. She accepted the wish of Tota's parents to save him and make him immortal. Tota is happy to know that Yukiime is immortal, and they leave the village in order to be safe from hunters. They go to the capital city of Nudokoyo, Amano Misashira. Tota and Yukiime are on the way to the capital city, and Tota is excited about the capital city as no one knows him, so he can make friends. Tota went to take a bath in the river and met Kuro Maruto Kasaka, who was impressed by Tota reflexes, who came from the orbital tower, and told Tota that he was kicked out by his family until he killed Dark Evangel, who has no reflection. Kuromaru is surprised to see Tota has no reflection. Meanwhile, Yukiime came, and Tota told Kuromaru that she was the one he was looking for. Kuromaru directly attacks Yukiime with his sword, but Yukiime easily stops him with his fingertips. Kuromaru is a Shinmyoryu from the clan Fushiguri, known for killing immortals. Kuromaru uses her secret technique and uses a stone cutter attack, but before he does something, Yukiime stabs him with her hand, and Kuromaru falls to the ground but recovers in a few minutes as he is an immortal too. Kuromaru wants to defeat Yukihime, but Yukihime told him to first defeat Toda if he wants to fight with her. Kuromaru attacks Toda, moving quickly, but Toda flexibly avoids the attacks with his fast reflexes. Toda puts a condition on the fight that losers have to accept one wish of another, and Kuromaru accepts and provides a sword to him. The fight starts. Toda throws his stick at Kuromaru, but he avoids it easily, moving forward quickly. Toda kicked Kuromaru's face and punched his jaw. Kuromaru makes Toda bleed and attacks repeatedly with his sword. Toda defends flexibly, but Kuromaru cuts him by the neck. Toda joined his neck and punched Kuromaru on the ground. Toda won the battle, and Kuromaru asked to kill himself. Toda made him his friend, and they went to take a bath nearby. Toda fell from the cliff, but Kuromaru saved him. Kuromaru becomes Yukihime's disciple and Toda's friend and joins them on their journey to the capital. Toda got a sudden thought in his mind that there are more immortals in the world and got the idea to make a team of immortals to help people for good. Meanwhile, a fleet was heading towards them and one hit Toda while stopping. One man and a girl came out of a car and greeted Yukihime, and they came to take her. A girl named Karen is about to kill Toda for not calling Yukihime Sama, but Yukihime tells her Toda is also immortal. Yukihime tells Toda that she has already created an organization of immortals called Duck Holder. They are going in a crew, and Yukihime tells Karen that she and Toda have the most powerful immortal powers. They reach the Palace of the Immortals, where Upholders live, which is 10 kilometers away from the shore of Tokyo and is a secret headquarters called Fairyland Hall. This is the place where all kinds of immortals live. Magical or beast-like beings, those who use the Philosopher's Stone, and even those who can build up lives like video games. Toda and Kuromaru are introduced with Jengaro Makabe Upholder no 6 and Ikuame Upholder no 10. Toda and Kuromaru can join Upholders once they pass the test, which they have to strike once to pass, and they have 7 days. They can use any weapon or attack at any time. Kuromaru will fight Jengaro, Toda will fight Karen, and the test starts. Toda jumps and attacks Karen, but she uses her hammer and bashes Toda to the ground. Kuromaru attacks Jengaro with her sword, but his flexibility avoids her attacks. They are unable to win on their first attempt, but they have time. The two met a girl named Shinobu Yuki, who is immortal, and helped her in her task. Toda and Kuromaru went to a place mistakenly in search of a storeroom, where they met a man named Jinbaishi Shido Upholder no 2. He suggested he pick up the forged sword left by the Majol Bairoema. Toda tries to pick up the sword but is unable to, so when he uses the dial on it, he picks it up easily with the help of knowledge that someone taught him. Jinbai says if he wants to keep the sword, he should master it. Jinbai throws the sword at Toda, but his hand breaks because of the weight, but he recovers. The sword weight can change according to the will. Jinbai uses the sword with 50,000 times its weight and slashes Toda, which leads to powerful gusty winds. Jinbai suggested they train themselves, and they start their training at the underground place to be trained to the extreme. After 7 days, on the last day of the test, Kuromaru attacks Jengaro using her quick move with the sword beside it. Toda attacks Karen with 1,000 times the weight of the sword, and Karen sinks a bit into the ground. Kuromaru attacks Jengaro with his sword repeatedly since his accuracy and speed improved, but his moves can be predicted, and Jengaro easily avoids his attacks. Kuromaru gets his hand cut, but he uses it and stabs Jengaro before he moves. Jengaro revived and congratulated Kuromaru for passing the testament. Karen is defending Toda's attack, but he lights his sword and steps back, then slashes Karen's neck. She avoids it, so Toda makes her fall and is about to win, but he stops and runs to save Shinobu, surrounded by the monsters. Karen came and took the monsters away. One approached Shinobu, but Toda killed it and saved Shinobu. Karen is surrounded by the monsters, and Toda uses 50,000 pounds of the sword and just jumps to the ground, which results in all the monsters dying and destruction around her. Karen comes under the rocks but gets up. Sunset is happening, and Karen passes Toda in the test as his strike tears off Karen's clothes. Yukihime sends Toda, Kuromaru, and Jinbai underground to kill all the monsters. Yukihime gave assignments to Tota and Kuromaru with holder numbers to support Karen in her assigned mission. Tota thought of going in the car on a mission, but they are going with their feet running through the forest to save children who are in danger because they belong to the slump area, and there are people who want to finish Po people. Tota jumps from the cliff and lands on the ground, and his mate falls to the ground. Kuromaru won over Tota in arm wrestling, and Karen too. Tota cooked food for them, and all praised him for the food he cooked. Kuromaru suggests deciding who will cook food from the arm wrestling, and all agreed with this as Tota loses in arm wrestling easily. Karen suggests Tota do flash step training to win in arm wrestling. Karen and Kuromaru are discussing the slums, whose population surpasses 2 million, which makes it hard to survive. Tota is doing his flash step training by drifting here and there. Meanwhile, a man named Kaito, who is a martial artist, punched Tota to the ground for training wrong. Kaito explains to him that flash stepping makes men move quickly, and he shows him doing so by moving in the blink of an eye without blowing dust. Kaito explains to him that the power put out by flash stepping can win the man in arm wrestling. Kaito shows Tota that with their feet they can rule the world and shows Flash Kick jumping up with his feet in a zigzag motion in the air and then coming down. Kaito tells Tota 2 tricks to Flash Stepping and starts teaching him the first one, which is to grasp. At night, Tota cooks food with his leg and then eats too as a part of the Flash Stepping training. Tota shows his flash stepping, which is improved but not more than Kaito's, and he explains to Tota that he uses his feet like his hands. Tota uses his feet for regular work, playing, eating, and brushing. Tota shows his moves to Kaito, but he still needs practice as Kaito lives 6 years using only his legs. Kaito went to an old man standing with a man, and Kaito converted into a wolf. They are immortal hunters and went to the slums. Tota distributes food to his mates, but as he goes away, the two are attacked by 3 weird creatures. 2 stabbed Seibu, and 1 shot his mate, and they got killed. Karen is taking a bath. Meanwhile, a man named Crossing Z Chao comes out from the ground and shoots, but Karen defends and then folds his hand, snatching the gun. Karen shoots him, but he dodges and attacks with the sword. Karen defends using the gun, but it slips from her hand. Crossing Z cuts Karen's neck, but it recovers in seconds, and Crossing Z repeatedly attacks her, but Karen pinches him in the stomach, and he collides with the wall. Karen pushes his neck with her leg, but Crossing Z puts the gun in her mouth and shoots. Karen, being immortal, feels the pain. Tota is with Ruki, and they see the town in fire and smoke, which can be an attack, so they are about to go back, but before Tota goes, some weird creatures called shadows attack Ruki, but Tota goes close to him. Meanwhile, Kuromaru comes. He saves them by hitting the shadows. They are surrounded by enemies. Shadows, a wolf, and an old man named Jeez. The wolf attacks Tota all of a sudden and seals his immortality, leaving him unable to do anything. Karen is beaten badly, and she attacks with her back. Crossing Z collides with the roof but grabs her with his shadow's power. Kuromaru attacks the wolf but gets his hand cut, and he cuts the wolf's hand too, but a tree generates. The wolf uses his flash stepping and appears at the back of Kuromaru, killing him. The wolf attacks, cutting Kuromaru into pieces, and he falls close to the Tota. The wolf throws the swords, stabbing him to make him stuck in place. He is about to use the ice magic, but before he does, Ruki comes in front. In 1942, there was a little town in southern Europe. A girl becomes the target of a witch hunt, but no one is able to hurt her, even though she is burned in the fire. She is Karen. Crossing Z is stabbing Karen with his knife, and she is unable to move. The wolf grabbed Ruki in his hand, and Ruki asked why. Jeez told him that this land doesn't belong to him, and that it is owned by the people living at the top of the tower while they return to Mars, but it is their contract with them to vanquish the Po who live in slums. The wolf is about to hit Ruki, but Kuromaru went close enough to save him. Meanwhile, Tota came in front, breaking the seal and saving them. Karen used his power to kick Crossing Z at his main point, and she recovered and punched him, throwing him away. Karen beats Crossing Z to death. Tota sees his hand converted to black, releasing power. The wolf attacks, but Tota dodges and pinches him away. Tota is conversing with Kuromaru, and the wolf attacks between them, but Tota pinches and kicks him away. Meanwhile, Karen came, and Tota knew the wolf was Kaito, as his flash stepping is amazing. The wolf reverted to Kaito, and the two punched each other. Kaito landed close to Tota and punched him, but Tota held on and repeatedly punched him, dodging his attacks. Kaito moves quickly, stabs Tota with his hand using his flash step technique, and crushes his heart. Tota was revived using Maguire B's secret of immortality, which gives him extraordinary power. There are only two wielders of this secret magic. One is Dark Evangel, and the second is his disciple, and Jeez met them on Mars in 2065. Tota throws Kaito, and he collides with the building. Tota starts firing punches at him. Tota is not in control. He is absorbing negative emotions and growing stronger. He is about to kill Kaito but is stopped as he is controlled by the evil aura. Tota manages to come out of the aura, and a blast happens. Tota still wants to fight Kaito, but he offers arm wrestling, which Tota accepts. The coin came down, and the arm wrestling started. The ground starts to crack, and Kaito is winning, but the game takes turns, and Tota wins, but the roof breaks, and they fall to the ground. Kaito asks Tota to kill him, but Tota doesn't want to, and Jeez retreats and takes Kaito as the fire spreads. The town is burning with flames. Yukihime came and used her rice magic to put out the fire. The two, Jeez and Kaito, ran away through a portal. Tota has Magia Arabia because Tota was created as a vampire from Yukihime's blood, and it is a secret technique inherited from her. Kuromaru is talking with Tato's sword, Kurobodono, but as it says about feelings, he ground the sword and ran away. Shinobu went to the capital city with Tato on her machine to participate in the solar machine race. Kuromaru explains to Karen that he is a demi-human and a member of Yatanak Harasu, who choose their gender on their 16th birthday. Karen attacks Kuromaru with her sword, but Kuromaru defends, and Karen forces him to be a girl so that she can live with Tota. Karen wants Tota to stay away from Yukihime, and she forces Kuromaru to accept his love for Tota. Meanwhile, Ikudono came. He suggested Kuromaru change his look as a girl and go on a date with Tota, Kuromaru's cousin, to know if he loved him. Kuromaru went to Tota, pretending to be his cousin, Kuryu-san, and convinced Tota to explore the capital. Kuromaru went on the boat to explore the capital city with Tota, and he explored and had fun with him. Yukihime is worried about Tota, and time will tell what Tota will decide. We see a handsome man named Fadavarunkus, who informed us on a call that Tota is in the capital and headed there. Tota and Kuromaru are on the tower, seeing the views. Meanwhile, Crossing Z, a shadow mage, came close to Tota and tried to cut his neck, but Tota hit him, and Crossing Z stepped back. Crossing Z uses his power. Tota starts sinking into the darkness, and Crossing Z binds him. Suddenly, a multi-handed man named Asura appears and attacks Kuromaru, and he gets injured. They are about to kidnap Tota, but Kuromaru gets up and pinches Crossing Z, and he collides with the wall. Asura attacks, but during the attack, Kuromaru hits him against the wall. Asura pushes him away, and Kuromaru is falling to the ground. Asura hit Kuromaru. She started colliding with the building. Asura gave him some cuts, and he fell to the ground, getting injured. Kuromaru is sinking in the shadow of darkness, but he wakes up, comes from the darkness, and bashed Crossing Z away. Kuromaru takes Tota from the shadows, and Asura, seeing his power, runs away. Tota wakes up and thanks Kuromaru for saving him. Kuromaru decided to stay with Tota. A girl, Kiri-chan, is creating a ritual and tells Iku that the special occasion starts now. Kuromaru and Tota reach the palace. Karen and Iku were waiting for them, and Karen took Kuromaru aside to talk about the date, but he excused her and said he would tell her later. Kiri-chan is hiding behind Iku and asks him to give her a moment alone with Tota. Kiri takes Tota to an alleyway, and when they were talking, a shadow mage cut her neck and disappeared, but as Tota grabbed Kiri's hand, they got back to the time at the palace. Iku and Karen wondered why Tota didn't go to the capital with Kuromaru. Iku and Karen have doubts about Kiri-chan because she has prophetic abilities and is a type of immortal who can come from death. Kiri-chan explains to Tota that she is the only one with such an ability, and the sand mounds she made are save points as long as the fire burns. When Kiri-chan was killed, the mounds got activated, and she came back to the recent mounds. Kiri-chan can take another person back in time if she touches him. Kiri Sakuram is a holder no. 9 with a power reset and restart. Kiri-chan tried to grab Toda's hand, but in 6 playthroughs, he avoided it. In the first playthrough that Kiri-chan saw, she thought to warn Toda about upcoming events, but Toda was always the center of everything. The same things repeat. Toda again went to the alleyway with Kiri-chan, saying the same words he said in Kiri-chan's first playthrough. Suddenly, Crossing Z came again, but this time Toda kicked him and he collided with the wall. Crossing Z uses his shadow and comes from behind them, but Toda hits him with his sword. Before Crossing Z attacks, Toda weighs his sword 1,00,000 times and hits him so far in the sky. Kiri-chan tells Toda about Fate of Aruncus, the greatest mage in the world, who wants to kidnap Toda. Kiri-chan tells Toda about the first playthrough when she and Koromaru separated from Toda. Iku called Kiri-chan to get away from the place for a while, but as Koromaru heard the sound of the explosion, she went close and saw Toda grabbed by Of Aruncus. Iku broke into pieces. His attacks failed, and when Karen attacked, she disappeared with Of Aruncus. Koromaru attacks Of Aruncus to save Toda, but she gets stabbed, and Kiri-chan, sealed with Of Aruncus's petrification spell, tells her that he is the legal owner of Toda, so she kills herself with a knife and comes back in time. Fate of Aruncus was once known as a hero, but now he is an enemy of humanity. Iku and Karen heard Kiri-chan's conversation and got to know about her hidden power to get back in time. They are going to Capital on the train, and Kiri-chan tells about Plan A, which is to capture Fate of Aruncus as they know the place and the timings, and Plan B, which is a backup if Toda is taken away. They reach the Capital's tower, and Kiri-chan explained the positions to everyone. Toda would work to distract Fate, and Kiri-chan gave him a mobile to communicate. Iku and Karen can attack as they want. Koromaru will stay with Kiri-chan to take her close to Fate to touch him. As Kiri-chan touches Fate, she takes him with her to the cave, and when she dies, she will come back, and Fate will be stuck in the cave. Iku is ready to attack with Yukiime-sama's satellite cannon. All are in their positions. Toda gets Yukihime's video telling him that Fate helped in resolving an incident on Mars 80 years ago, saving the world, and Toda's grandfather, Negi Springfield, was there with him. They are known as heroes, but 20 years ago, when Negi passed away, Fate became an enemy for humanity, and he is after Toda because of the relationship he had with Negi. They figured Fate was coming straight toward Toda, but Toda sees his friend walking just beside him. Fate is on the target of the cannon, but before Iku attacks with it, a girl named Tsukuyami Iwai cuts his arm. Toda meets his friends, and before they go outside, Fate comes, talks friendly, and tells them he is Toda's grandfather's old friend. Fate blackmails Toda to come with him. Otherwise, he will kill everyone around here. Toda rejects him, gets his sword in hand, and distracts him. Meanwhile, Karen attacks from behind and kicks Toda's friend away to save them. Toda quickly uses his weighted sword 1,000 times, and Karen attacks at the same time, but Fate defends it. Toda increases the weight of the sword and breaks Fate's barrier. Iku becomes free and attacks with the cannon. Koromaru takes Kiri-chan's avoiding comrades and throws her to Fate, but she becomes a rock, saying we can win. Meanwhile, Cannon attacks, but Fate defends it with his barrier. Karen decided to retreat, Iwai attacked Iku, and Toda went to fight Fate. A man named Shabaji Uri attacked Karen, but she kicked him official. Koromaru fights Asura, a 6-armed demi-human. Iwai is experienced and makes it hard for Iku to fight. Karen is thinking of escaping, but they can't let her. Toda attacks with a punch, but Fate deflects his move and appears at his back and throws uncountable swords at him, but Toda defends them. Toda attacks with the weight of the sword, but Fate makes it 0 repeatedly. Toda uses his 5 lakh weight to hit, but it avoids him and throws rocks at him. Karen informs Toda that the seconds are decreasing, so they hold on until it becomes 0. Toda irritates Fate and attacks him with a weighted sword, leading them to fall near Kiri-chan, and she wakes up and takes them to the cave as planned. Fate came in front of Yukiime and was about to attack, but he retreats and gives everyone a chance to ask one question in exchange for his release. Iku asked him why he needed Toda and answered that Toda's grandfather could be saved by Toda. It's not urgent for Toda to go with Fate, and Toda asked who killed his parents, and Fate killed his parents. As Toda heard this, he turned with the anger of revenge to kill Fate, but his grandfather's hollow vision appeared in front of him, telling him Fate didn't tell the truth. Kuromaru breaks the device through which he is seeing Negi's hollow vision, and his grandfather disappear. Yukihime and others let Fate go, and Kiri-chan is angry about it. Toda asked Yukihime about his grandfather and the truth, but Yukihime went into her room to avoid answering. Meanwhile, a lady and a girl came to the palace to meet Yukihime and Toda. Toda cuts Shinobu's back mistakenly, not paying attention, then Shinobu makes him tea, and Toda feels relieved drinking it. Suddenly, a girl named Maizore Yukihiro came up with a jump and landed on the ground. Maizore wants to take revenge on Toda, as his great-grandfather Nagi Springfield was a harem and his son Negi was a romantic professor, which made Maizore's grandmother cry. Maizore hit Toda, rotating him away, but Toda grabbed her hand and threw her then caught her in the air, landing safely. Maizore proposes to Toda, but he refuses because even he doesn't know her name. Maizore's grandmother, named Ayaka Yukihiro, is talking to Yukihime about Negi, who is a romantic guy, and how girls try to impress him in school. Maizore made lunch for Toda, and he just loves the food. Other girls are feeling jealous after seeing it. Iku tells Kiri and Kuromaru about the Jinx Hot Spring Resort and tells them to take Toda there. Yukihime is discussing Negi with Ayaka, saying that he is alive and shocked to know about it. Iku and Toda were taking a hot spring bath, and Iku told them he fell into a coma when he was 13, and it has been 72 years since his real body was lying on the bed. Iku got a new body and joined Duck Holders. Yukihime calls Toda out to tell him the truth, but Toda asks her first if she loves his grandfather, and she reveals her true love for Negi Springfield, but Negi changed now when Negi defeated an evil wizard 20 years ago to save the world, known as the Mage of the Beginning, Laldabaoth. She is not immortal but undying, and takes over those who defeat her. Negi was taken over by Laldabaoth, but not completely, and being in this state, Yukihime and Fate decided to save him, but their ways were opposite, so they separated. Toda has doubts about whether Negi is telling him the truth. Fate didn't kill his parents and might be alive. Toda was born differently 2 years ago. He was created with the genetic information of Negi, and he might be a clone. Toda tells Kuromaru that he might be a clone of Negi. Meanwhile, Maizore came and took Toda to a Mahora martial artist tournament, in which all kinds of people who knew fighting and magic participated. Toda wants to participate, but the contestants are already selected. At the school, Toda meets Ayaka and her friends Chakamaru Karakuri and Mana Tatsumiya. Mana tells Toda that at the school, his grandfather was a teacher 80 years ago, and they were their students. Karen went capital, with Yukihime and Shinobu thinking to go capital. Ayaka shows Toda their grandfather's classroom, where Negi transferred when he was 10. Meanwhile, a girl named Seo Aisaka-san, a ghost, came to meet Toda. All Negi students hug him, as Toda is the grandson of Negi. Mana got a call from a tournament for the replacement of a person. In the tournament, a fight is going on between Afro the Forever and Innocent Bystander, but they got injured, so they are replaced by new entries. One is Toda, an eternal 14-year-old wielder of the legendary gravity sword, and the opponent is the mysterious hooded man called Cutlass. The fight starts with Toda attacking the Cutlass, but she defends it with her magical sword and hits Toda, who falls to the ground. He dodges the next attack and stands aside. Cutlass attacks and Toda keeps defending. The man who got injured tells Mana that Cutlass is the man who made him injured to get his place, and the match is a setup. Toda attacks from the top, but Cutlass holds its sword and blasts, leading Toda to fall to the ground. Toda stands, but Cutlass cuts him into 2 pieces. The battleground is surrounded by a strong barrier. Toda's Magia Arabia comes out, and he attacks, but Cutlass stabs him and pierces him with the swords that repel his magic. Toda's friend cheered him up, and he punched Cutlass, but she stepped back. Suddenly, Negi Springfield came, removed the sword, and intended to take Toda to the tower, but he rejected it. Negi is being controlled by the mage of the beginning. Yukihime breaks the barrier with her magic coming inside but is bound by the spells of two girl mages, Yue and Nodoka. A man named Jakrakan suddenly came and attacked, but Karin and Kuromaru defended him. The Yukyu holders are ready to fight. Negi sneezes, and gusty winds blow in the stadium. Kiri-chan has a plan, but Nodoka reads her mind, so it's pointless. Nodoka convinces Toda to come with them, and Yue tells Toda he is the successful creation of Negi and Asuna after 71 failed attempts. Toda falls into a fantasy world through a portal and sees Yukihime, but as he runs toward her, a man named Colonel Sanders appears. Toda's sword tells him that Colonel is the man who made it, but he puts Yukihime to shame. Colonel puts the sword under the pressure of the sun, the white draft, and the black hole. Toda sees Yukihime falling from the cliff but is saved by Nagi, his great-grandfather known as the Thousand Master. Colonel shows Toda the love story of Yukihime, where she follows Nagi and loves him, then his son Negi Springfield 15 years later at Mahora Academy. Toda understands all those images, but these are real, and Yukihime sees Toda. Suddenly, Lalda Baath appears and binds Yukihime, and Toda is pierced by the swords of Colonel. Lalda stabbed Yukihime into 2 pieces and threw her away. Colonel pushed Toda to the ground. Toda shakes Yukihime's hand and pulls her up, saving her. Lalda tries to grab them and explode the building, but Toda saves themselves. This is a fantasy world made by Lalda where she rules. Yukihime stands and uses her magic attacks on Lalda, but between them, Negi comes and throws them off using thunder. Yukihime throws a magical ball to Lalda, and she breaks it, but Toda attacks with a gravity sword but is hit by Negi. Yukihime is stabbed again by Lalda, and Toda falls to the water where his friends call him to help. Suddenly, a girl, Asuna Kagarazaka, appeared and saved them by taking them far. Asuna sacrificed herself, and her body is sleeping on Mars, but she is inside the Toda and turned up when Lalda came. Toda sees his friends between them. Lalda comes and attacks them, but Asuna defends her, and only 0.76 seconds have passed in the real world. Asuna defends Lalda, tells them about ways to counter their enemies, and takes them out of the fantasy world. The real fights start. Kiri-chan attacks Jack's eyes with spiral fire, and Karin pinches with a holy fist. Kuromaru replicates and attacks the 2 mages, and they grab him, but he binds them with his magic. Yukihime freezes the cutlass. Toda attacks Negi, but he dodges and comes from behind. Toda defends it. Karin is keeping Jack busy by doing gusty winds attacks, and Kuromaru is holding the 2 mages. Toda is defending Negi, and he pushes Toda forcefully, but Yukihime and Fate came to help him and show Toda the real Negi by using magic. Taking them up, Fate tells them Toda is the live example of implantable immortality technology, through which they can evolve humankind to be immortal and drain Lalda Sama's power to free up Negi from her. Negi agreed with Fate's idea, and the fight continues. Fate uses his magic, and Yukihime freezes Negi, but he easily breaks it and turns white, releasing thunder. Negi attacks Fate and Yukihime with thunder, but when he attacks Toda with it, he also turns up white, releasing thunder. Yue and Nodoka free up, but Kuromo attacks Yue, but she avoids him and pierces Kuromaru with swords. Karin is being punched by Jack. Toda is running away, flying, but is caught and punched by Negi. They fight around the tower, and Negi grabs Toda by his neck, but he uses a gravity sword, goes down, then comes up front, stabbed with thunder by Negi. The tower rocks started falling, and Toda's fighting spirit turned him up, and he punched Negi. Toda grabbed Negi by his neck and punched him again and again, but Jack stabbed him with the sword, and he fell to the stadium. Toda is stuck with the sword, and Negi steps up to kill him, but Kiri-chan comes in front and stops him using her power. Negi distracts her, and she is stabbed with the sword by Cutlass. Cutlass takes out suicide pills from Kiri-chan's mouth, and Toda turns up in anger, but they successfully keep them busy for 37 seconds, as Asuna said to do. The spell takes them in front of Negi's students, and they attack him, firing and binding him. One attacks with a Jin and another blade, but he dodges away. Isakura attacked with Seo's robot punch, but it had no effect. One fights with a sword, but he hits him. Another one came and bound him with darkness, but he came out of it easily. Tota is healed by the two girls. Negi flies up with thunder, but as he attacks, a girl defends and attacks him with a thunderclap. As the girl steps back, Yukihime attacks with magic, throwing off glacier needles. The two inject Negi into an abnormal state. Chakmaru shot him, and they came back to the battleground. Asuna left Negi with no option other than to withdraw from the place. Negi disappeared with his allies. Jinbai saves injuries and casualties from happening. Fate disappeared, saying, Yukihime, he will save Negi. Tota is ready with his friends to fight again. All the immortals came back to the palace. All were discussing Tota, and he went to Yukihime and proposed to her, but she rejected it, and all his other friends jumped behind him to beat him for proposing to Yukihime.